So come in and mentor. That's one thing that you can do. On top of that, money. We always like donations. Give us money. The conference is in March. We'll get into the conference in a little while. Come to the conference. You're going to see us. You're going to meet us. You're going to be a part of us. You'll be a part of the conversation. Come join the conversation. And share what you hear. When you're somewhere, when you hear intolerance anywhere, say something. If you hear one of the kids in my program who goes to school up in Suffield very recently, she left a classroom and the teacher kind of looked and said, was that a boy or a girl? I can't even tell. And her classmate stood up and told the teacher that that was completely unacceptable and not okay, and then also went to the office and spoke to administration.
Wow, nice.
And that's what you need to do. That teacher knows that there's no place in that high school for her to ever open her mouth and say anything like that again. So speak out. When you see gay kids out together somewhere, when you see trans kids out somewhere together, smile. Please smile, because our kids get frowns all the time. If you see a group of gay kids in the mall, give them a grin. I was in West Hartford Center a few months ago, and there were two lesbians, high school students, school had just gotten out, and they were getting ready to cross the street, and they were holding hands, and there's just that teenage love thing going on. Oh. So I was looking at them and kind of smiling and enjoying it. And one of them turned and saw me, and there was that quick, someone sees us, and then, but she's smiling at us. Yeah. So smile at us, smile at my kids. That's what you can do to support us. So, mentors, send us money, come to the conference, be open and accepting to LGBT youth, and be a weirdo nerd, and when you see them outside, say, I'm glad you're out here being you. Please, because there are so many people who have no problem saying, you're a freak and you disgust me.
Oh, yeah.
Our kids hear that all the time. They need to hear, I'm really happy to see you out being yourself. When I was your age, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
And the one that we talk about a lot on this show is, God hates you.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cambria.
See, it works.
Yeah, it does.
I think it's really important for straight folks just generally to understand that they are part of the queer community. I mean, it's not just, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. It's everyone who identifies as not just buying into there's something wrong with you if you're not heterosexual. Right. And allies can, wherever they work, wherever they are, their organizations, their jobs, their social organizations, always work to help identify and eradicate fear of gays, lesbians, discrimination against transgender people, discrimination against bisexuals. You can do it too. You can be part of that.
Wow.
Yeah, and what you brought up, that God hates you piece.
Oh, yeah.
We live in Connecticut. We like to believe that this is a wonderfully liberal state with no horrible, scary stuff going
Relatively speaking.
And relatively speaking, I would much rather live here than Montana, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes down to it, that we have wonderful protections for our youth, wonderful protections for adults. We are light years ahead of most of the rest of the country. However, there is a but there. However, as of last June, and the number keeps growing, as of last June, 5 teenagers in my program have had exorcisms performed on them to make them better.
Exorcisms?
Exorcisms, and we're talking about exorcisms that happened here in the state of Connecticut.
Wow.
I think that's Father Russ's cue to call.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Does he perform exorcisms?
No,
Okay.
He's a very supportive ally.
He is. Yes, he is our biggest ally.
Good.
He's one of the folks that got us talking about the myth that God hates gay people.
Yes. That's
he's out there to straighten out the rest of the clergy about this too.
All the way up to the Pope.
Oh yeah.
He's a devout Roman Catholic, and he and I have had a lot of conversations. I was confirmed Roman Catholic, and we're in agreement that the current administration of the Roman Catholic Church has gotten it wrong.
I'm not Roman Catholic, but I agree.
But the notion that God doesn't make mistakes. Well, I agree with that.
Yes, exactly.
God doesn't make mistakes. The notion that, he puts you on the earth as a boy is your mortal brain trying to interpret this infinite plan, if you will. I think it's incredibly arrogant of people to assume they know what God's plan for me is.
That's right.
I think everyone has the right to flourish to their best potential in the eyes of God, or whatever it is you believe the supreme deity to be, if you believe that.
Little g.
Yeah, and part of that, of us accomplishing that mission as human beings, is to support each other in our interdependent society where we all have the power to blossom to our full potential.
Right.
and be what we can be for each other.
Absolutely, it's wonderful.
You know, we were talking the other night at the Love Makes a Family meeting in New London. They had their chart up for sex, gender identity, gender expression, and
Sexual orientation.
Sexual orientation. Thank you. And what we got talking about was, you know, the notion that if they could teach this structure, that these concepts, these ideas, in health class. They don't have to teach that you have to like gay people. They don't have to teach even that it's okay to be trans or to be different. Just teach kids the actual factual concept of a gender identity, of a gender expression, how it's different from sex, how it's different from sexual orientation. And then let the kids go home and talk with their friends and their parents and their pastors and come to a conclusion on their own.
Sure.
And somehow that's crazy,
That's
radical
dangerous.
thinking.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't understand that. It should be exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Throw it in the curriculum and let it be. We're not
Let it
assigning
be.
any kind of judgment. We're not saying this is right and everyone has to believe this. We're just saying this is.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Father Russ calling. That.
Almost guaranteed. But you... Okay, we'll go to the line one first.
Good evening, nlcTrans. You're on the air.
Good evening. You asked for a call.
Hi, Father.
Hi. I tried to get God on the phone, but he's out busy.
Oh.
However, he would not, I'm sure, appreciate anybody doing exorcisms over children finding out who they are. That is a real tragedy. It's really frightening the way people deal with this whole situation. And clearly the terror sitting there knows that God does not make mistakes. And we as human beings make all these mistakes and set up all these barriers. And in the church, the shame from the Catholic perspective, from the Greek Orthodox perspective, is you do not have a lot of priests, clergy members that are supporting the gay community, and that's a tragedy. You know?
Yeah, it is.
It really is. We find small pockets. And what I deal with kids, what breaks my heart, is I don't think that everyone should be Christian. I don't think that everyone should be Jewish. I don't believe that everyone should be Hindi. But I think that it's important that people have a belief system that's their belief system. But so many of the youth in my program are so anti-anything church, anti-anything religion, because it's been used to persecute them, that they're floating. And it's excuse me?
That's my question to you. From a spiritual perspective, where can they go?
Well, in my program specifically, I encourage mentors to share their belief systems with their mentee. And we have very strange conversations on this is not black, this is not white, we are living inside the gray here, and we have to be in the gray place here. If you go to church, bring your mentee to church. Talk about why that's important to you. If you've left church, but you've developed your own spirituality in whatever way, shape that is. I mean, for me, it's a whole bunch of different, I consider myself, there's a Christian base and then a whole bunch of other stuff that works for me. Have those conversations with youth and ask them, what is your belief system? Or what is your parents' belief system? And how do you feel about that? But really to get those conversations going and to share with them, we don't do it so deeply at the conference for some of our kids. We have people come and they do actual workshops on Christianity and what the Bible really says. And there's some kids who I send off to those workshops. But for everyone else, we do just a basic, what have you heard? This is kind of what my take on that is. And this is what this person wrote about that. So yes, this is what your mother and your father and your grandmother has said, but other people have said other things. Because we've got to remember with kids, their parents are the primary transmitter of any information. So if mom says that God hates